Hi, welcome to the Dairy Hour podcast, where rural charm meets personal growth. Join us as we milk every moment for wisdom, self-improvement, and mental wellness. I'm your host, Val Lavigne, a rural dairy farming mom with a passion for filling hearts while never forgetting to fill my own cup. Get ready for insightful conversations, empowering tips, and a splash of fun and laughs, of course. Let's cultivate growth, nourish our minds, and embrace the journey together. This is the Dairy Hour podcast, where every episode is a breath of fresh air and the inspiration you need to be your best self. As a busy mom and dairy farmer, I'm always looking for ways to support my family's health as well as my own, and I absolutely love Wonder Cow Colostrum. It's packed with essential nutrients, great for supporting gut health, boosts immunity, and promotes overall wellness. Whether it's for me, my kids, or anyone looking to stay strong and healthy, Wonder Cow is my go-to daily supplement. I have been taking it for a year now, and it is irreplaceable in my daily routine. If you want to experience the amazing benefits of colostrum too, you can use my special code, DairyGalVal, at checkout for a discount. Give Wonder Cow a try, and you will definitely feel the difference.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Dairy Hour podcast. I am your host, Val Lavigne, and I am joined by Miranda Neville. Miranda, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I am so excited that I convinced you to come on the podcast today.
That's an honor to be here.
So Miranda and I actually knew each other back in the SUNY Cobble skill days, and we were talking about it before we started recording. We're not going to mention any years because we don't want to
age us too fast.
Yeah, we're still 22. It's fine. We've got this. Right. So Miranda, if you want to start and just kind of tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So the biggest part of my life, I'm a farm wife and mom. That's how I identify. That's what I'm most proud of. My husband and I are on his family dairy farm that he grew up on. And we work in partnership with his mom and we just raise our family here on a small family dairy farm. And I share my day-to-day life and just kind of normal small farm things that people might not experience on social media, primarily TikTok, Instagram, that kind of stuff. And I'm happy to share kind of a safe space for small farmers because, you know, the way of the world, everything's getting so big and you have to keep growing and building. And I just really take pride in being small and having that. This is what I kind of always dreamed of. It's not without difficulty, but yeah, that's where my heart is. And then I also work off the farm for an agricultural assistance office doing other farm related things, nutrient management planning, manure management planning, grant funding, stuff like that. I also kind of found myself in a construction inspector role. So I come in with my hot pink outfit and my hair done and makeup done and the contractor's kind of, I'm not so sure this girl's qualified, but I found my way and I've been doing that for almost 13 years. So just,
that's awesome.
Yeah, just all over the place, but I always find home in agriculture and farming. And that's just what I've always wanted to do.
Yeah. The construction inspector role, it reminds me of, obviously I drive a trailer too, but when you go out in public, we'll take the food truck out, which is a pretty big trailer behind the truck. And I prefer my husband to drive it just because then I can sit back and not worry about anything. But sometimes I'm the one that ends up getting to go drive it. And, you get people that look, oh, can you get it in? Can you get that backed in there? And I'm like, yeah, I got this. Like, not my first day on the job. Okay. Haven't hit anything yet. And I'm not going to today. So here's the thing. Hitting things with the food truck is not good. That's too expensive to replace. And usually when we're going, we're so busy with it that can't have any downtime. Got to be really
right.
Good.
Right.
I love that. Oh, can you handle that? Yeah. Trust me. I could probably
walk out with my board and my designs and my boots. And we work with a lot of plain sect individuals. So, most of them I'm familiar with at this point. I know the crews and they're comfortable with me, but there's a few times that I'm a strong woman in agriculture, but I walk out there and they're like, why is there a girl on site?
Hold on. Do you belong here? Wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then you prove yourself and they're like, oh, okay, we're good.
Right. They don't like to be bossed around by women, but I'm a bossy woman. So I'm proud of it. So it works out okay.
Agreed. You and I are alike in that. I still do some milk inspections on the side and I do have some Amish that I inspect. And sometimes they're kind of like, and I'm like, no, this is how it goes. Like, you get me. Sorry.
We're perfect. You know the drill.
Yes. They get used to it though. So I want to kind of jump back in time and talk about growing up. Where did you grow up? You know, what kind of things did you do growing up?
I grew up in northeastern New York, right on the Canadian border. Like, wow, I was about 10 minutes from Canada and about 15 from Vermont. So top tier, as cold as it gets without
the corner.
So I didn't grow up on a dairy farm. My parents weren't farmers, but my mom grew up on a dairy farm. So like a lot of my friends, actually, you know, I had that exposure and it was a choice for me. So I think that kind of is what led me into the life that I'm in now. But my grandpa and my uncle had like a 70, 80 cow tie stall, and it was very manual labor intensive. We did everything with wheelbarrows and grain carts, and everything was pushed. We did small square bales all summer, and that was my summer job. While my friends were working at, you know, restaurants in town, I was in a haymow, drenched in sweat, working hard. And then once I got my license, I just pretty much stayed at my grandpa's house. I mean, he was older. He needed some help. I loved being there. I loved being on the farm. He would wake me up every morning. I would sleep on the couch because I was too afraid to sleep upstairs because I'm a scaredy cat. And he used to tap me on the head. And I remember just kind of peeking up and he'd go, "More rise than shine." That was an every morning thing. So I kind of live by that with my kids too. Yep. And then I would show cows all summer. I was in FFA and 4-H on the dairy judging team. We went to national competitions with FFA for dairy foods. And so pretty much anything that I could get into agriculture wise, I was. I think that really, I mean, it builds character in young kids like anything, you know, like an organized sport would, but you just don't have to be as physical until you wrestle cows. So
you don't have to be that physical until you have to be physical.
Yeah. Yeah. I did play sports. So in the winter, I played basketball, and my coach was actually also a dairy farmer. And 2 of my friends were his kids that grew up on a farm too. I mean, it was a small town. You know, if I wasn't super strong one season, he's like, you need to stack more square bales. You know, you need to get sweeping the barn more. So it was that farm kid exercise that kind of benefited, you know, other areas of my life. But
and if anything, it definitely teaches you some grit. So
yes, for sure.
A lot of grit is learned in the barn.
Yeah. And my uncle and his son actually went to Cobleskill too. It's where I kind of got my thought of like, that's just where I'm going to go. That's the rite of passage. My cousins that were on the farm all went to Cobleskill. And I was like, there's nothing else. That's where I'm going. So, but my cousin was very big into cattle genetics and breeding his Holsteins, and there were some jerseys on the farm that my sister showed because they were gentler and smaller. So I kind of inherited them, but that's where I found my love for brown Swiss. They're my top breed, and I saved every penny I could. And then when I was I think I was 15, I bought my first Swiss calf, and it's been fighting for Swiss every other day.
Fighting with Swiss, fighting for Swiss, like,
yeah.
Depends on the day.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, they're good as long as they're not too Swiss-ish for me.
Yeah, the young calves, as anyone will tell you, you know, like it's bucket training. Swiss calves is the worst thing in the world. And it is. And we've had some revert back, and it's just a struggle forever. And then they just get that stubborn nature, and they know you're just going to do what they want you to do. They train us. So yes. I think that's kind of part of it. I just like they just bulldoze wherever they want to go.
That is accurate, but they are such gentle giants as far as their nature, and they're chill, which is
they're the only ones
but not good all at the same time.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, they're it's good, but not good that they're so chill all at the same time. Because if you need them to hustle, there's no hustle.
There's no hustle. Yeah, I'll trust them around my kids over any other cow in our barn though. But they just stand there, and the kids go up and they play with them, and that's my safe space for the kids.
Yes, if you want to maul something, go maul the Swiss. You're good. Like, it's fine. If they move, it's going to be so slow. You'll see it coming. So it's fine.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, it was my senior year, my last year showing at our county fair. And my mom, she's so petite, so small. Like, I don't know where I came from. I'm just a giant compared to my parents. My mom was never really the girls weren't allowed in the barn growing up. So she didn't have that experience. But when us kids came along and we started to show, we're like, okay, you know, we need you to help us hold our calves or our cow. And my mom's like, okay, you know, she wasn't like super thrilled with it, but I had an old Swiss cow that it was the same, that she saw a water trough and she's like, I just want to drink. And my mom was holding her halter and she just started to walk. And my poor little mom's like, how do I control her? I'm like, you don't. You just follow.
She goes to get a drink. Like that's
Yeah. Yeah. Just let her go.
Oh, that's wonderful. So at what point did you know, like, you went into Cobleskill? What was your major?
Dairy production and management.
Okay. So at what point in your youth were you like, yep, this is definitely the path that I'm destined to be on?
I guess, I mean, it kind of always was my plan. I wanted to be a farmer, but there was the next generation coming up to our home farm. My cousin was already there. So there wasn't really room for me. It wasn't big enough of a herd for me to come back to. So I just kind of hoped that I would find something at Cobleskill that would kind of lead me to where I wanted to go. And I didn't know if that was to be an ag teacher, like probably every other youth that kind of doesn't have that direction. Do we want to be an ag teacher? Do I want to go into genetics? But yeah, I just kind of winged it, honestly. I just knew I'd find something there in some kind of direction.
And you did find something there.
I did. Yep. I found my husband there.
And he came complete with a dairy farm.
It could not have worked out better.
See, I did find what I was looking for, a husband. Yeah. Or actually, you found a dairy farm that happens to come with a husband. I'm guessing
that's probably it. Yeah, don't tell him that, though.
He knows. I'm sure he knows.
Oh, yes. And I met him shortly. I mean, it was within the first probably month. And then it was a couple months later we started dating, but we worked at several farms around Cobleskill and worked sales and stuff like that. So we kind of got that experience together. And then we just decided like, this is what we want to do. We want to build our own herd. So whether that be here or somewhere else, but home was always kind of the plan.
So chat a little bit about finishing up at Cobleskill and how you went about transitioning.
Yeah. So when I graduated, I didn't have anything in particular in mind. I was like, I'll just go get a job, bussing tables or something until I could figure it out. I ended up getting an internship at Minor Institute in Shazy, New York, which wasn't far from home. And it was just, it started in May, but we didn't graduate until mid-May. So I went a little bit later. So I had a couple of months. It ended in August. And it was the best possible experience for anyone even remotely interested in agriculture. Like, even if you don't know, it was such a big learning experience, even for a farm kid, because you did a rotation on herd health, calf care, milking. There was a research facility there that actually my aunt worked in. So I got to get a little bit of experience with like cannulated cows and their digestive studies and stuff. But my favorite part, which really surprised me, because I was always afraid of equipment growing up. It wasn't like I would sit on our little teeny David Brown tractor and haul wagons, and my uncle would put it in gear and just show me how to stop. Like, I was not an equipment kind of girl, but I really took to the crop team at Miners, and they taught me how to run pretty much every piece of equipment. And I was the only one that didn't like wrap a merger around a phone pole or, mow the wrong field. So they just kept having me back. So I spent most of my summer doing crops and learning about that. So that was pretty cool to do. And then when that ended in August, I just packed up my little car and moved down here. There's an apartment on our farm, and I just moved in there, and I was like, well, I'll just figure it out from here. I got a job working at the local school just as a substitute teacher aide. And there was enough people on the farm at the time between my husband and his parents and his brother would kind of come and go. So I actually helped his grandpa, who had a 30 cow tie stall. And I would drive from work to his farm, which was on the way home, and milk there. And those experiences were because I had lost my grandpa at that point, and he was like my surrogate grandpa. And those are the best memories ever. And I got to help him, and he had show cattle, and he had a lot of big connections with people in the industry. So there were always, big people stopping in. And I was starstruck all the time. And then I would come home and help here. So, but then with all of my husband's grandpa's connections, he told me about a position at Taurus Service Dairy Bull Stud. And he's like, you might want to check that out. Like, I don't know how long you want to work at the school. Like, that was not your goal. And I was like, what about here? He's like, don't worry about it. So then I got a job at Taurus, and I worked there for a couple years, and that was awesome. I learned so much about genetics and inventory, and they let me help picture some of the bulls, which was like, these are bulls growing up. So like they were just like the superstars, And then I got the job where I'm at now, and the rest is kind of history. But yeah, Taurus was an experience as well, unlike any other, because my boss would take me to cow shows and just have me write down placings from the bulls from our facility. And, so that was really cool. And it just kind of fell in my lap. And I'm very grateful for those experiences for sure.
Do you want to touch more on how the transition into, you and your husband kind of running the day-to-day on the family farm? How did that kind of progress?
Yeah. So, we lost my father-in-law 8 years ago, and he was the primary on the farm. He and my husband did everything together, and my mother-in-law and I work off the farm. And so when that happened, my husband just had to take on everything that two men were doing. So at that point, I was like, okay, we had a young child at the time, and I was like, we need to do something. I need to help more. I need to make it more of a priority to be here. So that's kind of when we got more involved with, we took out loans to buy cows and increase the herd. And then we started taking out loans to buy equipment. So as of right now, we own probably the majority of the cattle and the equipment. And my mother-in-law still owns the farm. And she does morning milkings because to get my kids out the door at 3 a.m. is not going to happen. So we're very grateful that we have that partnership, and it works out for all of our situations. Yeah, now we're kind of at the in-between where at my off-farm job, I go to so many seminars and stuff that are, if you're not getting bigger, then you're getting behind. And both of us, we just really want to stay where we're at. It works for our family, but the industry is what it is. So if it is true, if you're not getting bigger, you're going to eventually kind of be squished out.
Yeah.
So we have a facility to hold 120 cows that my in-laws had built years ago. And we only milk about 60 cows now. As of recent months, we're talking about expanding again, getting back up to 120. But with that comes more manpower. So we're kind of at an impasse. Do I leave my off-farm job with the health insurance that's so necessary when you have especially a farm and farm children? But yeah, we're just kind of at that in-between where how can we make this work? We've been working with our loan officer and trying to figure out that next step because this is what we want to do, So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of at a turning point that we haven't quite seen the vision yet. We know it has to be done, but I'm not sure how we're going to get there.
Yeah. Always tricky to figure out. And, I know people, especially from our generation, were like, well, what if it doesn't work out? What if this? Like, you kind of have that, really second guessing yourself. So I'm sure that you guys will make the right decision and do what's right for you and your family. And so I want to bounce to, talking about your TikTok, because that is definitely, which is funny enough how I came about finding you again and, seeing you, because one day I was scrolling through TikTok, because apparently I didn't have anything else to do. And I was like, wait a second. I know her. Hold on. And that was probably I lose track of time, 2-ish years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk a little bit about how you got into TikTok and doing that kind of thing?
So I had just had our second child in the winter of 21, like February of 21. And it was that fall. I had heard so much about TikTok and I was like, I don't know, I'm too old for that. I don't think I can learn another. I'm a MySpace generation. I'm a Facebook generation. So I don't know if I can keep up with that. And at the time, I had heard it was more just dances and stuff like that. And that's not me. So I did download it and I was just kind of scrolling, holding my baby. And then I stumbled upon a couple farm accounts, and it was mostly tractor edits or cow edits at the time. And I was like, seems like something I could just do for fun. I didn't really have a set niche yet. I was like, do I do mom things? But I didn't want to show my children. I wanted to keep them kind of shielded, but still show the family aspect of things. But as it ended up, the very first TikTok I made, we were at a cow show. And I just showed all the cows laying down, and it got some traction. And I thought that was kind of weird. So then it just slowly over the years, and I would post maybe once every couple of weeks or once a month. And then I guess it was probably a year and a half ago, I started to take it a little more seriously. And I was like, I just kind of want to advocate for the small family farm and just show our day-to-day stuff and, maybe make some friends along the way, because we live in the middle of nowhere. I don't have a lot of connections or friends. And if I do, they're all farmers and parents on their own. So we're busy. But Yeah, I started to take it a little more seriously and share kind of my day to day. And I would just take like little clips and then I do like a voiceover. But I mean, they did okay. For me, I was like, this is crazy. I'm getting, people want to see what I'm sharing. And that was just crazy to me. And then I started to do just like I was just talking through my evening at the barn, and I share stuff about calves and milking, and sometimes I don't talk at all, or I'll get on these little niches where people will just run with it, like opening grain bags and stuff. Like, I never knew it was so controversial, but
yeah. Oh my gosh, can you imagine how she did that? She didn't do it the way that I would do it.
Yeah, the internet's a funny place, but I mean, I'm grateful for all of it because I have made so many connections and friendships. I mean, they're all my social media friends. I probably won't meet any of them in person ever, but if I'm given the opportunity, it would be really cool. But even locally in my off-farm job, I get people like, hey, I saw your TikTok. And I was like, oh, and I get like embarrassed. I'm like, I'm showing it to the entire world. But if my neighbor sees that, I'm like, oh,
wait, oh gosh, they're probably judging me.
Yeah, that's it. But I mean, I don't have a lot of followers, but like, I've created this little comfortable pocket where we just all I see the same people commenting, chatting, and it's a lot of fun. I even kind of accidentally hopped on the John Deere Case IH battle, the age-old battle, because I painted my nails red in a video like a year ago. And then all the John Deere guys came out and some big creators kind of jumped in on it. So that got me a little more traction too. But yeah, just some of the opportunity. I mean, obviously, like reconnecting with people from my past and you and stuff like that. But I did at our Pennsylvania farm show, our governor invited me to come and just do like a little bit. And I have imposter syndrome. I'm like, what? Me? Like, I'm not that big of a deal. I'm just a farm mom and I just milk cows.
You're not just a farm mom. You are a farm mom. Right. And you're a farmer.
Yes. And that's another triggering thing, I think, for some farm women that comment. They're like, well, why don't you call yourself a dairy farmer? I'm like, well, I am, but I'm not the one here all day. That's my husband. Yeah. So I'm cool being the supporting role because I'm still the one yapping about it on the internet. They know that I'm still doing things, but yeah, I mean, that's his role. Like, he doesn't claim my title where I work just because he does a lot of the same things either. So it's just, I don't know. It's just my thing, but I don't mean to ever offend anyone by that. It's my preference. So I feel like you have to clarify that everywhere you go. When you're on social media, it's like, I don't mean to offend it.
Oh my God. People get so bent out of shape for no reason. Everyone needs to calm down.
That's it, Yeah.
So that's awesome that you got to go be a part at the Pennsylvania Farm Show with the governor. That's like really exciting.
It was very much like small town kid in the big city. I've gone to the farm show, but I go to look at tractors and cows, never to like be in the posse of a politician. And like, they pushed me to the front of the line. They're like, it's our TikToker, it's our influencer. I'm like, I'm not. That's not me. Okay, who was? Wait, where is this content creator? But they knew who I didn't have a badge, nothing. And I was in with his security and they all just would move. And I was like, this kind of power's going to my head a little bit.
And she'll be running for governor next thing you know.
Yeah, but it was very cool because I try to not get involved in politics. I mean, I have my beliefs and they don't align with either party half the time, but to go and no matter what position he's in on, I'm like, this is what's important to me. This is what's important to us. And for him to kind of share that little piece of our world was really nice to see. And the interaction with our youth, it was great to see. Cause I mean, I was a 4-H and FFA kids. So anytime we had like a politician come, we're like, oh my gosh, we're going to be on TV. I mean, not me. I was never super excited to be on TV, but just the thought that farming is a big deal, whether the rest of the world realizes it or not.
Yes. Doesn't matter what party you're in. You still have to eat.
Exactly.
At least 3 meals a day. And that food's got to come from somewhere. So knowing where that comes from is pretty important. Definitely agree with that.
Yes.
So, and you talk about imposter syndrome, just like when I messaged you and said, hey, I really want you to be on the podcast. Oh, me? No, I couldn't do that.
Yeah. It's very weird. Yeah. I mean, because even like discussing being a dairy farmer, like wearing that title, I'm like, I don't always feel like I know enough or, I'm always, even at my off-farm job, like I have to know crop rotations. I have to know tillage equipment. And oftentimes like I'll bounce back and forth and I'll be like, to my husband, I'll be like, what does this mean? And he's like, are you kidding me? Like, that's your job. But then it's on the flip flop. He'll come home and say, hey, do you have any funding for cover crops or something like that? So I'm like, actually, let me put on my like scientist hat here for a minute. And I don't know. I guess we always kind of undersell ourselves. And I think that's part of like being a humble farmer too. There's so much to get caught up in that's argumentative when I just want to enjoy my life. Like one of my coworkers who also has a farm, he's like, I just want to milk cows and have a good time. And man, if that's not it, like I just want
maybe if I could get paid for it, that'd be great.
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed. I just love it though. And you're doing a fantastic job on TikTok. And I enjoy following you and seeing all of the really cool things that you're doing, even if it is day-to-day stuff that most of what I'm doing also. But I mean, where you're like, and I struggle, and especially coming out of winter, I struggle for like content and getting stuff done. And it's one of those, like, people can't actually find this interesting. And then I do a video on something that I'm like, and people are like, oh my gosh, that's the coolest thing. And I was like,
Right.
I don't even think to normally tape it because I'm like, this is not exciting to me.
Yeah, to us, it's a simple life. But I mean, so much of the population is so far removed from agriculture that, I had a couple, it was like the utmost compliment ever, but like people found one of my videos because they're like, you look like Princess Kate Middleton. And I was like, no, not at all. Thank you so much. But then that got me more followers too. And then they're like, this is about cows. Cool.
Cows are cool.
Yeah.
We could do this. See,
Yeah.
and when we were kids, cows were not cool. And now cows are cool. It's like make cows cool again.
Yeah, we need to start a campaign.
Yeah. Make cows. Well, cows are cool again. I think we're just going to go with cows are. We don't even have to make them. They just don't.
Yeah.
They always were, but people just didn't realize it.
Yeah. And I mean, coming from a small town, where I grew up is much similar, is very similar to where I'm at now. But even then, there were like 3 or 4 kids that were on a farm, and I was one of them, but I was by choice. So like, for such a small rural school, even now, like my kids are some of the only kids on dairy farms. A lot have beef or whatever, so they kind of get it. But like, we've brought in calves into my kids' schools before, and like the amount of kids that have not ever like seen a cow, let alone touched one.
Yeah, definitely. It's a crazy world out there. And so earlier you mentioned, not really showing your kids on TikTok or social media in that aspect. Do you want to touch a little bit about that and, the different precautions that you go through to make sure that your family is safe, because there's crazies in the world? And
yeah, I guess probably within the last year, I've had like fake accounts made using my videos and stuff. And at that point, a larger creator messaged me and said, hey, I know you don't really show your kids like faces or show them a lot, but just be cautious because like, someone had made a scam to benefit like her son, but it wasn't her son. She wasn't running this campaign. And that really got me thinking just how much I have to protect my kids, my family, and while still being in the public, still keeping our privacy. So now at this point, I'll mention my children, but I don't show them that much anymore. I'm fine now with people do. Like I liked to originally show them incorporating their lives into the farm and, kind of getting that perspective. But now it's just such a scary place sometimes. So I try to not. And even on my personal like Facebook, I don't show their faces anymore, just out of caution. We live in a very remote area and we have our protections and our precautions and security cameras and stuff like that. But if people are making like fake accounts, like there's no telling. And I just don't want to be one of those stories, that like, well, I wish I was more careful. And there's probably still a lot of errors I'm making and I'm not as cautious as I should, but it's just the times, you start something with good intentions and it can very quickly turn into a learning lesson that I don't want to learn.
Lessons are better left just not learned. Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I have been more cautious in recent. They still get to be in some stuff, and sometimes they want to be in stuff with me, sometimes they don't. So I try not to like push that. And I've also I put my logo on like all of my photos because I too had someone like stealing my pictures and using them. It was like they were me. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really a big fan of this. So,
Right.
but I definitely, it is something that's kind of in the back of my mind, and I'm always watching. And I'm also one of those, I don't know how to, like, I'm somewhat protective especially when we're out in public and stuff. Like, I am very
right
sometimes, and I'm okay being that over the top mom, because I also sometimes think, like, if someone ever tried to like grab my kid, like, how much damage do you think I could do? Like,
I'm very much a helicopter mom. I'm overly protective, but I also have like crippling anxiety about anything surrounding my children or my husband or anything like that. So I feel like I'm always kind of in like fight or flight, and I'm ready to fight. So
yeah,
I'm not a fighter, but I guess I would if I needed to.
Same. But it's funny because I'm very much not a fighter either, but I'm always just like, what, like, you run through when you're just in those public situations, you're just like, what would I do right now if someone were to like try to grab my kid or do something?
And it's a shame that that's the world we have to live in. But I mean, I think
that's already son of guns going down.
The mama bear.
Like a loose heifer, like you're going down. Oh gosh, I love it. So I want to transition into just some fun rapid fire questions, just because they're fun. Yeah. Why not? Right? So, are you a beach or a mountains person when you get that time off the farm?
I really like the beach, but we went there for my honeymoon, and my husband and I were both like, what do we do? Like, we just sit here. We're such doers. I think it would be nice to be a beach person. That's my ideal.
In my head, I'm a beach person. When I get there, I don't know what to do with myself. Yes. My husband gets annoyed when we do go away or do something. I'm a constant, like, I have to have things to do. Like, I can't just sit and do nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
but we're very much introverted homebodies. So like, we don't do a lot of vacations. Like, I mean, obviously it's difficult to get away, but even if we could, like, we go to cow sales. That's our fun time. So if we could have a cow sale on a beach, I'm in.
Perfect. You don't even need sawdust to walk them in. Just walk them in, call it a day. Life is good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Are you a coffee or tea?
Coffee all day, literally all day.
Yes, I too am a coffee all day. But then when it's cold, I like my cup of, like, usually it's like an herbal tea at night, just because
that's nice. Yeah, it's cozy. That's nice.
Yeah, every once in a while, I just like that cozy cup of tea. But I'm definitely not a nice person if I don't have enough coffee in my face. Yeah. Are you favorite ice cream flavor?
That's a tough one. I'm a big Moose Tracks because I love peanut butter and everything, but I also like the green mint chip. That's had my heart since I was a kid.
Those childhood memories, right?
Yeah.
What's your favorite, like, comfort meal?
So we had a thing in the North Country called Michigan's, and it's similar to like a chili dog or something. It's like a hamburger meat sauce on hot dogs, and my mom makes the best. So that's my comfort meal. Anytime we get together, she makes me Michigan's.
It's funny. Someone asked me, now that you say that, someone the other day was like, do you know what a Michigan is? And I was like, I'm pretty sure. And they're like, you don't eat them frequently? I was like, I don't think I'm far enough north to eat them all the time, but like, I know of them.
Yeah, they're not to be slept on. They're so good.
Good old Michigan from New York. It's fun. What is your, like, binge-worthy TV show?
Oh, that's a great question. We don't sit down and watch much TV anymore because the kids have cartoons on all the time. We've actually been kind of watching The Big Bang Theory recently. So we just watch it because it's just like silly humor. All of it goes over my head, but it's silly and it's light and it's not anything like our lives. So I kind of like that.
Yes. I'm a huge Friends fan. I can watch Friends all day, every day, over and over and over again. And I still laugh hysterically all the time. Like, it's just one of those things.
That's a comfort show. Definitely.
And again, I agree. I love just that show. And I like to watch it right before I go to bed because it's not too heavy. Like, I went through the Yellowstone craze and I watched all the Yellowstones, but after I would get done with the episode at, 9-10 o'clock on a Sunday night, I'd sit there for an hour because I was like, oh my gosh, yep. I get way too zazzed up on things.
Me too. Yes, it would like boost my anxiety almost because it was too fast paced for me to watch at night. I guess I'm really like aging myself like that. Yeah, I don't adapt as well as I used to.
Yeah, I would like watch it and, my husband would be done watching it, roll over, fall right to sleep. And I'm sitting there and my brain is just going, do. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
So, and then you put Friends on and you wind it down and away you go. I love it. What's your favorite holiday tradition? Holiday traditions get fun, especially when you involve a dairy farm and chores and all that.
Yeah, Christmas Eve, growing up, I was in a huge family. So we would always get together, on Christmas Day or whatever. But Christmas Eve now with our kids and all of their cousins live close by, and we get together and we do games, and, my mother-in-law makes a huge meal, and we just, it's, I think that's kind of rare to be able to have all of your family under one roof. It's very nice to have everyone so close by. So Christmas Eve for sure has become our favorite. We look forward to it. The week before, we're all planning what we're going to do, what games we're going to play. It's a lot of fun for the kids.
Yeah, I love that. We have a big party, and it's kind of like our quote unquote company Christmas party on Christmas Eve, but we go to a local restaurant, and we have for years. And it's like close friends, people that, not even people that necessarily work for us, but also people that just do little things for us throughout the year and help us and just help make farming better. And it's just nice because we do like a big gift exchange, and, we have fun, like stealing gifts and like just having a good time chatting and getting to spend time with those that mean the most to you.
I guess in a way, ours is kind of like the company Christmas party too, though. So, because it's just us. So
company, family, all the things. Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah.
I get it. And let's see. So I know you said you're kind of a homebody, but what is your like bucket list trip? If you knew that someone was going to take care of the farm and you were going to go somewhere for a week with your husband and everything, like that's like the big deal. Where would you go?
So I went in college with the judging team to World Dairy Expo, but my husband's never been, and that we would love to go to Expo and just see like, again, we're farmers, like through and through. That's our dream vacation, is to go to the World Dairy Expo or the Royal in Canada. But we don't have passports. There's a whole lot of admin that's necessary for that. So
too much effort. Let's just go to Wisconsin.
To Wisconsin for a couple days. And yeah, but other than that, there's no really like, I see a lot of friends going to like Jamaica or Hawaii, and that just gives me so much anxiety. It's awful, but.
Well, I should be in Madison again this year, so you should come visit.
This will be the year to do it. Yes.
Let's do it. So awesome. I also love to ask more of a deeper thought question left by a previous guest, which is always fun to see how people answer. What is one thing that's been crucial to your success, whether that be success in your career on the dairy or in your, TikTok era?
Yeah, I guess just that's a thinker for sure. I guess just being sincere. I try not to like sugarcoat too much, like especially on social media. I try to keep things a little bit lighter because farming can be so heavy for people. But I talk about my mental health. I talk about, my husband being on the road a lot with the chopping crew and stuff. So I think just being sincere and being honest, and I don't ever really try to, I don't know, like hide parts of myself, like I'm quite transparent. So yeah, I guess just sincerity. I'm a kind of an open book. So.
And why do you think that like is so crucial to your success?
I think because that's an easy way to like attract like-minded people to surround yourself with, and that way, like we have a commonality to that, but I'm always able to learn from those other people too, just because they are also open books. So, it's easy to ping pong questions, or, if I have a struggle with something in the barn or in life, I know who to go to, because it's just, there's not a question of can I ask this question, because they're willing to share it as well. So
awesome. I love it. And what is that one quote that drives you to be the best you can be, or, drives you to be super motivated? What's your go-to quote?
So I actually wrote it down so I didn't like misquote it, but to be successful in life, you first have to fall in love with your work. And I actually found that at my off-farm job, and I was like, there's something to that, because, my goal is to eventually be home on the farm. And if if you didn't love to farm, there's no way you're going to do it. There's no way you're going to succeed. You have to have that love. And we do. And I do. So I think that's kind of the farmer, I don't want to say insanity, but just, like every farmer has that mentality of they just have to love it because, like I said, it can be heavy. And even the bad days, you have to love parts of it. So if you're not excited to wake up in the morning doing what you love, you got to do some deeper research, I guess.
Agreed. I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure to chat with you and catch up after X amount of years. We're just gonna slide right over that. So do you want to share where people can find you if they want to follow along on your journey?
Yeah. So my TikTok is just Miranda.Neville. And then my Instagram is Miranda.Neville1 and the number 1. Pretty easy to find. I have them both linked to each other. So if you find one, you can find the other. But yeah.
Awesome. And I'll be sure to link that in the show notes so you guys can find her by just clicking a simple button and make it really easy for you. But definitely go give her a follow because she's got some really great stuff on there. And I always am constantly seeing what she posts. So I love it as well. And Miranda, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a blast.
That's so fun.
Yeah, I told you it'd be great.
I was very nervous. I've never done a podcast, so this is my first podcast. Thank you for making it wonderful.
You could check the box. Done a podcast. Yeah. And around the farm show with the governor. Check all the things. All the things. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to share with a friend, leave a review, and we will see you next week. Have a great day.
Hey, Dairy Hour listeners, if you're enjoying this show, leaving a review is the best way to help us grow and reach more people. Plus, I've got a little thank you for you. Snap a screenshot of your review, message it to me at DairyGalVal, and I will be sure to send some fun Dairy Hour stickers your way. Thanks for supporting the podcast, and I cannot wait to mail you some swag.